Your emotional brain has both a chemical advantage and a time advantage that gives it significant influence before your rational mind even enters the conversation. The 80-millisecond hijack. Did you know your emotional brain gets an 80-millisecond head start on every decision you make? That tiny gap changes everything. It's like giving one runner a head start in a race. Even if the second runner is faster, that initial advantage often determines who wins. This timing difference explains why you might know something is a bad idea even as you do it anyway. What neuroscientists call emotional hijacking focuses on which system processes information first. Your brain runs two parallel processing systems that work at different speeds, creating a timing gap that influences every decision you make. Research from NYU Center for Neuroscience revealed that your emotional brain centers begin responding to stimuli approximately 80 milliseconds before your rational conscious brain regions activate. In neural processing terms, this brief moment is substantial. By the time your prefrontal cortex begins analyzing the situation, your amygdala and other emotional centers have already 1. Categorized the stimulus as positive or negative. 2. Triggered initial hormonal responses. 3. Begun priming certain behavioral responses. 4. Started filtering what information reaches consciousness. 5. Created an emotional context that colors how you perceive the situation. The precision of this timing difference comes from functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, studies that track blood flow in the brain during decision-making tasks. These studies map exactly when different brain regions activate in response to stimuli, consistently showing that emotional structures activate first, followed by regions involved in conscious reasoning. Your brain processes emotional information through what neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux calls the low road, a neural pathway that bypasses conscious thought entirely. When you encounter something potentially important, sensory information travels from your senses to the thalamus, then follows two simultaneous paths, the thorough but slower high road to the cortex for conscious analysis and the immediate low road directly to your amygdala for rapid emotional response. Think of your rational brain as someone arriving late to a party. By the time it shows up, the emotional brain has already arranged the furniture, chosen the music, and decided who's welcome. The rational brain can make changes, but it's working within an established framework. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet's research dramatically illustrates this gap. When subjects were asked to flex their wrists whenever they chose, Libet detected brain activity in motor preparation areas about 350 milliseconds before subjects reported consciously deciding to move. More recent studies show brain activity predicting choices up to 10 seconds before conscious awareness. This explains common experiences like saying something hurtful in anger even as another part of your mind tells you to stop, or reaching for food you're trying to avoid while feeling like you're watching helplessly. When measuring brain activity viewing emotional images, researchers found the amygdala activates 80 to 120 milliseconds after seeing the image, while the prefrontal cortex doesn't begin until about 200 milliseconds after. Your emotional response is well underway before your rational mind starts processing. The timing gap becomes particularly problematic with complex modern decisions. When considering a job offer, your emotional brain might react to the interviewer's friendly demeanor before your rational brain analyzes whether the position aligns with your long-term goals. In financial decisions, your amygdala might detect a seemingly threatening pattern and trigger fear before your rational brain can analyze historical data, showing temporary market declines are normal. This timing difference explains cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding contradictory beliefs. When your emotional brain commits to an action that your rational brain later questions, you experience internal conflict, often resolved by creating rationalizations that justify the emotionally driven choice. What makes this process so effective is its invisibility. You don't experience your amygdala activating separately from your prefrontal cortex responding. Instead, you experience a single, unified decision process that feels entirely conscious and deliberate, even when significantly shaped by processes you never consciously registered. Understanding this timing gap doesn't mean your rational mind is helpless. The prefrontal cortex can override emotional responses if given enough time. Emotional regulation means creating space between stimulus and response for your rational brain to catch up, extending that gap from milliseconds to seconds.